James, it's great to have you here in Birmingham, and we're talking at the World Tour, and I'm looking forward to your presentation later on. Now, so I'd just like to get your views on our Human Centric Intelligent Society vision. Now, what does it mean to you?
Well, I think the important thing to remember is that IT is terrific, but it is a human creation. And we hear a lot about artificial intelligence, but I think we're a very long way, if ever, going to see the kind of intelligence in machines that can make philosophical judgments, that can make emotional judgments, that can tell a joke, recognize a joke. All of that's down to us. So I very much approve of a big IT company like Fujitsu putting the accent on the human things. Not because I'm sentimental, but because I believe, it's rubbish in, rubbish out. We determine the value of the software. It isn't just something that comes down like a god from somewhere else. So I back all that.
And the societal challenges that we're now faced with, any particular you think that we might be able to then more directly address through the application of that vision?
Well, I'm a heretic on energy. I've written a book about it, and I think if you look, interestingly enough, at energy consumption in Germany, America and Britain, since the crash, you'll find it's remarkably resilient. The industry has gone down, even services haven't been great, and it's coming right now, but the energy consumption is still where it was. So I tend to believe that energy supply is more important than trying to manage down energy demand. And in that regard, we know from the Fukushima experience how important it is to have the right kind of monitoring, asset management and all the rest of it. With nuclear power plants, it's true of conventional power. And I think a point that was made this morning at the conference by yourself was that the monitoring of water flows, and it can be the flows of gas and of oil, of electricity and all of that, and bringing quote-unquote intelligence to that whole process, very, very important.
Have you seen any material changes and innovations around agriculture, as we were talking about earlier? Now, sort of our Akisai cloud agricultural adoption is trying to increase crop yields by 30–40%. And that's really just harnessing what used to be in just a farmer's head that was learnt over decades and generations, but it's starting to expose that and then take the kernel of that to be able to sensor networks to then work out what the optimal growing conditions are without adding artificial agrochemicals. Now, sort of in that context, have you sort of seen how that will change society and going forwards or not?
Well, no, absolutely. And again, it's in another speech. I'm very interested in that, and these sort of obscure, rather historic industries, I say obscure not if you're there, but for lots of people in metropolitan Britain or Europe, you're not thinking about textiles, agriculture, stuff like that. But there's a great website called Precision Agriculture, which is roughly what you were talking about this morning. And one of the reasons I support China and India's efforts in space, despite the poverty that exists in India, is that if you strap a camera to a tractor and you use the camera and satellites to detect how much moisture there is on those crops, then a key question for Africa, which finally, thank God, may be coming out of the deep pit it's been in, and is growing at 5% a year, you could do so much to solve poverty in sub-Saharan Africa by harnessing the cloud and satellites and surveillance of crops to spray them the right way in the right quantity at the right time, to harness all of that tacit knowledge, which the Japanese are very good at, talking about and writing about, tacit knowledge of farmers. I think that's tremendous in terms of the gains for humanity, the productivity gains and the nutritional gains. So I want to see a lot more of that.
Now, James, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here. I'm really looking forward to you speaking then later on today. So, Professor James Woudhuysen, thanks for being here and thanks for speaking to us today.
Thanks very much yourself, John.
It's a pleasure.